You're not wearing shades in this now.
Am I not? Look
Why?
At me, just look at me.
You don't have to.
I think I do.
Hi, you guys. Hi, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the backdrop by Jojo. No, you guys, Namoy.
You can get yourself.
I'm not wearing shades. This is not a thing. This is like we're discussing something.
Oh, we can. Oh, we definitely are.
I am not wearing shades. I can't read with shades. I will not be wearing shades.
Look.
I am not wearing
boy.
shades. This does not make sense. This is a podcast. This is not like you're not on TV. This is YouTube.
I have an image. Keep up.
And you're
Let's
going to
do it
come
for
up to
John.
go out
Let's
of the
do it
what?
for the
Of the
birthday boy.
Gondi. So he just wants to be cool.
I don't want to be
Jesus
cool.
Christ.
There's a glare. You don't see the glare?
Thank you. It's very hard to explain to you.
Ah, you guys.
Ew.
Jonnie, whether your side had a very small opening for Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to the backdrop by Jojo. Today I have two amazing, very, very special people in my life.
And Joseph.
I'm going to introduce to some and present to others Joseph, who has been here before. And then to introduce, this is his virgin show.
Maiden.
Come on, maiden. Welcome,
I
Jonathan.
was right for other things.
Thank you. Feel
What do you think
so
about...
so much pressure. I've been in front of a camera in a while.
What do you think about the backdrop by Jojo? I asked Joseph about that, and he claimed to have come up with the whole idea.
I thought we laid that to rest by me
Admitting that you didn't.
admitting that it is yours and yours alone.
I think
Thank
the
you so much
backdrop
for doing
is a genius idea. Though I feel like if you're going to call it the backdrop, you should feature your siblings a lot more and the whole family a lot more. Like you're using our name, least you can do is.
Okay, but anyway,
But it's a genius thing.
Okay.
It's really brilliant.
So today, thank you so much. Today we have decided to discuss a book called The Alchemist, which
Paulo Coelho.
yes,
Coelho.
huh?
Coelho.
Coelho. You were the one teaching us how to pronounce it, and now you're pronouncing it wrong.
Coelho.
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 Okay.
It's not EO.
Okay.
I actually searched it, the pronunciation, and I
How
heard
do I
it.
know? You just study phonograms. That's
The
your-
H probably says something.
The H says I. Probably
Probably.
say.
I don't know. I did compose the name.
Yeah, but you mispronounced it.
Paulo Coelho. Paulo Coelho.
Coelho. It's Coelho. It's cool.
Coelho or Coelho, whatever it is, we're
C-O-E.
discussing. We all read it at different times. Actually, Jonnie is the one who put me onto this book, but we found out at different times. He read it first, I think. Then
changed my
Joseph one
life.
day was talking to us and sharing. Is like, "Oh, have you guys? I'm reading this book," and we're like, "What? You're reading the book?" So we're so super excited. So I think it's our joint favorite book, like a book that we've all read and all liked. So we decided to discuss it. What were you going to say?
And very many people on people that I'm going to share this with, if I get the chance, have read it through me, and I've got so many astounding responses and very impressive ones.
It's a very good book.
It's
It's
a
a
very good
really
book.
good
When
book.
you say read it through you narrated it to them.
Both in
He recommended
either
it
way.
to them.
I also recommended it well, but also gave them the general physical details and stuff.
Okay. So, anyways, we decided to discuss this book, and just because we feel like it's very, very relevant to our lives and to our pursuit of our purpose. And so, and for me, one thing that I found very, very special about it is like there were so many parallels and connections to the Bible, and I was like, I really, really feel like, yeah, this is a good book to read and internalize. It's a very simple yet complicated book, I'll say. Very simple and very complicated. Very short, not very long, but very, very, it's a very, very beautiful book. And so today we are going to break it down according to what we learned from it and what we think of what we learned. If you haven't read it, please first read and then come back and watch it. Or you can learn from what we're going to share. So, just to start us off, I want to go into his life in Andalusia. And so he has this routine that he does. He comes with his sheep from one location and goes goes looking for grass. The sheep usually lead. Sometimes they change the direction of the route they take. But they kind of go on this route, and then he comes to this city in Tangier every year. They end up there where he shears the sheep wool, the sheep's wool, and then he sells it. When he sells it, he goes back, uses that money to kind of like, finance his whole journey again. Now, before we go into
buy
that,
books,
yes, he loves reading books, and yeah. So and going back, I before we look into like that life and where he got the dream, I'd like to bring in the father, because I thought the father was very, very significant, right? What do you think?
I like the fact that so much a simple man he was, he still did not. He struck a balance between not pushing the son so much and also still keeping him engaged in how big he could become, how great the boy could become. He had an idea that boy could become a priest, and he had the capability of becoming a priest, but he did not.
And took him to school
to school and all of those things, but at the moment the son was like, I'm not so much interested in it anymore. He was like, fine, but remember this. He even helped him to give him the treasured pieces of gold that were to help him start his next journey. That is very important in fact, if that never happened, probably that routine, that cycle, going to the word, he would become a priest, but literally nothing would have ever happened.
Yeah, this whole book would never have happened. Yeah, I felt like it was amazing. Like they had sent him to school to become a priest, to help there. You had said when we were talking about it earlier, you had said something about it was to help their humble what did you say?
Farm family.
Their humble farm family. Like they were all of a sudden the priesthood was going to make them stand out.
Yes.
Yeah, their image, yes. But he chose to become a shepherd. And one thing I noticed about the shepherd is that shepherds, when he was talking to the merchants, the guy who would buy the wool, when he talking to the daughter was like, I didn't know shepherds read, which means like shepherds were illiterate. Like he chose that because he wanted to travel, not because like he was like them. It was just a thing, and so he chose this quote unquote career choice because it was something that was going to feed his desire or his passion or something. Like he wanted to go after it. And I think from the very beginning I think that laid a precedent to the whole book, because it was that kind of person who would go like, I'm going to defy what you guys expect of me and go. And you guys, practical application, how many of you would do that? Would be like that honest to tell your dad, I'm not willing.
But also important, I think Joseph raised it for parents. It's important to note that the father actually gave this boy capital. He did. He gave him the money to buy the sheep.
Yeah, he did.
Yes, because if you're just being tossed out in the open to go and search for your destiny, come up with something on your own.
We also know of a person who
it didn't work. Even Donald Trump, his father gave him
$1 million. Just a small loan of $1 million.
it was nothing.
$1 million.
But anyway, what I was trying to say is the fact that we actually know of two stories now. One here, another one of the prodigal. But those two stories end different. And again, I was thinking about. I made sure that I emphasized the part that the father struck a balance of knowing that this boy, making the boy understand that he could become anything that he wants with his help, and also not holding him back, not forcing him to do what he thought that he would make him what great. So that balance, however much, of course, we need the capital, but even capital can be given to a fool and be used to squanderous measures. So the balance of knowing that, making sure that before you give unto the kid or whatever, or whoever you want, the capital, you have to know that they have understood that they have the capacity, the capability of being whatever they want before going to pursue whatever you want.
Right. I like that.
Although knowing that you can do whatever you want isn't much of a career guidance, but I remember when I was younger and thinking about what courses to do, what possible career paths, I had a blankest page because I knew for a fact that I could do whatever I want. And you know what to tell you, that if you have limitless options, making a choice is much better. The more options you have, the less satisfaction you get in whatever result you choose. So me knowing is different if you know I'm only gifted here, and if I don't do this, but I couldn't see anything that wasn't possible. And though I think my parents so much for make me always believe in myself and believe that I can do anything, it didn't help in choosing a career path or what to do, because you can be anything, literally anything. So how do you choose what to do?
It's interesting that you raised that, because in this book, I heard there was that conversation that the boy had with the heart.
Yes.
And he was like, the heart speaks more to children than it speaks to adults.
Alchemist.
Yes, because once you're more aware of all the impossibilities, like, okay, there's fear of failing, there is a possibility that you kind of like sometimes listen to that, because the heart talks. We're going to go into detail about the heart conversation, but I wanted to bring up the fact that the heart speaks more to children because they are more open to possibilities, and it's easier. I think it's better. What do you think about it? It's better to have very many options than not to have one, than not to have any. And I think that's the joy of being a child. I think probably that would be the joy of being a child, being able to dream. And then so now your purpose would be, what is my personal legend is this? What is the purpose out of this? And I think the purpose is not necessarily the direction of your career. It's like, what is that career going to help you achieve? Like, what is your purpose through that career choice? What are you going to accomplish through that career choice? So it doesn't matter at the end. I feel like.
But when you mention having multiple choices, for lack of a better term, no choice. The boy here in the beginning mentioned something about where I saw he wakes up in the morning, his routine, wakes up the sheep, moves them around, tells them where to go, and just like, this sheep, they don't have to make a single decision in their life. I decide everything for them, and they were thinking it must be nice not having to decide anything. You are kept, you're taken care of, everywhere you go.
But also,
and that's why many people, when they grow up after, they're like, adulthood is what?
It's a lie. It's a trap.
He also mentioned the same context.
Because when you were a child, it was easy. They tell you, do this, don't do that. You complain, but in the end of the day, as in, there's a lot of comfort in knowing that this is, like if you have 3 roads to go, you don't know where, it's much more difficult than when you are told this is the only way, go here.
What were you
What is the
saying?
easy thing? I'm not saying you should do what is easy,
Mm.
I'm just saying that is easy, not having a choice.
You were saying something about the sheep?
I'm still trying to, in the same context, in the same breath almost, he actually said something like, I don't know whether they are the ones accustomed to my program or am I the one accustomed to their
Yeah.
program.
And
So,
for me, along that side, I was reading about this and I saw something written about the sheep. Apparently, the sheep symbolizes individuals who do not seek their personal legends. Apparently, the best example of this is in the beginning of the book when Santiago notices that his sheep never have to make any decisions and they concern themselves only with food and water. So by not making those decisions, the sheep assume the role of followers. They just go along with whatever comes their way, the feelings, no motivation to do much more. They just want to go with the flow. So I would think that would be the answer to that. Like you're just going to just go with fate instead of usually like
The river
assuming
takes you
something.
where it may.
Right. So going back to Santiago, let's go into like the dream. So he gets this dream. It's a recurring dream. I think it's mentioned that he gets it twice. The dream never completes, but he dreams over what? Of a treasure in the Egyptian pyramids. By the way, Andalusia is in Spain, right? So Spain is right above Africa, North Africa. So he says down south across the desert in the pyramids. So that means there is a distance. There is a desert. His treasure is far down, like in the pyramids. And so he gets this recurring dream. And one day he decides to go and he's like, let me go to this gypsy lady who is a dream interpreter. What do you think about the gypsy and what is the symbolism? What do you think is the symbolism of the gypsy?
You go first.
oh me, it is very interesting how everyone, it talked about beginner's luck later on, but there is also beginners, how do they call it? The opposite of luck. Misfortune. Like you start with people who are the wrong people.
Yeah.
Like right on the go, like you meet these people. Like there was this time when I just joined the school that I'm at, and I met this guy. He was like, we even started calling each other partner, and just 2 weeks later, I did not want to even say hi to him because he was the guy who was like doing all funny things that you don't want. So
Stole your girlfriend, huh?
no, I did have one. Anyway, but
Sour sports.
so what the gypsy for me represents, as much as a boy wanted to have so much, this was right here, and he thought like this is it. I think she's going to just tell me literally, just go to this place, dig 14 times, and you find it. And he got the complete opposite. It's like he did not even help him at all. Literally, he was just like another obstacle in the way. And for so many journeys, everyone will have a point in their life where they meet this person, they think they have figured it out, and yet it is just one part of a lesson that you're going to learn on the very long part. Because if you see from that part from the gypsy all the way to where, even when he goes to the pyramids, it literally shows you that this gypsy could have not been in the picture, and still this journey would not have changed.
But I think everyone comes for a reason.
Yes, I'm not saying that they didn't have a reason, but the gypsy came as a lesson. Like it was a sheep. Came more like a lesson than a solution
Yeah, I think he
Of
thought
what he wanted.
he was going to get a solution from him, like
Yes.
this is exactly where it is.
Yeah.
But instead, I think she was just one brick on this whole building
True.
that was going to
That's
to
what I was
build.
saying.
And
But-
so
yeah.
but also me being very like, I'm like, this lady, from reading the whole story, that the way it happened, I felt like she's one of those like so-called people who think they are telling you something that's like, okay, there is these pastors will be like, there is a man in this congregation who has a beard and big hair. Obviously you're going to find two at least.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So she kind of like repeated basically what she had told them. Yes, you have a what? A treasure. Give me a tenth of that treasure when you come back.
But
I
I
felt
think-
like, for me, I would like to concur with you a little bit that, yeah, I don't know if she was helpful, but yes, she also kind of like was that thing that helped him think more, like I should go. I should go.
I think that the boy was disappointed because maybe she thought there was going to be some deep
Clear.
revelation.
Mhm.
What this is symbolism. It actually means this. But I think when he narrates the dream to the gypsy, for her it's very clear. How can we be having this same dream over and over and I mean anything more than that there's actually treasure that you're supposed to discover. That's why
Right.
the gypsy was even more convinced of the dream than the boy himself. So much so that she didn't even ask for money. She's like, I'm not going to ask for money right now for me telling you about your dream. But when you discover the treasure, come and give me what?
A 10.
A tenth. Because for her, this was just too very obvious. Or it
But at
could
some
also
point-
be that she was just playing the odds. Like if he finds the treasure,
Yeah,
I'm
I'll get.
getting 10%. If he
Yes.
doesn't,
Yeah.
what am
Yeah,
really
I think
losing?
I saw it like that. And also, but I think the biggest significance is that she kind of like was a little push in that direction. Go. And this book talks a lot about omens, and I feel like that was one of the omens or signs. Like it wasn't necessarily saying don't go, there is nothing there. It was more like, yeah, you have treasure there. It wasn't like he was going to get, like like you say, he expected something deeper. It is in this place, it's this big, it's this. He didn't get that, but it was like, yes, you're going to get it, basically. And so I feel like that was still a push in the right direction. Like you need, yeah. And I think like application in like our lives, we might not always get the deep revelations we want, our clarity, but we'll get signs at point. And I think we should be aware. And it talks a lot about this, like when he goes on, like I think Melchizedek, when we're going to talk about it says listen to omens and look out for signs. Like always be in tune with the signs. You're going to say something.
The gypsy said that, actually I don't know whether it's the gypsy who said that there are so many of these who pass by here and they want fortunes, but if he comes back there's no to lose. But if he does not come, okay, if he comes back I will get my fortune, but if he does not,
It's okay.
there's nothing to lose. So I'm trying to relate that to what you've been saying, that she was more convinced about the dream than the boy. Since it came this time like a dream, probably she might have had it before, but not in the sense of a dream. So he's like, probably this time it's a different kind and it's more real. So that's how it got her hooked. And I feel like on the whole story, this is like the hook of the story, like where the boy starts really working on the treasure.
Yeah, I think that was
Quest.
kind of like a turning point where it's like, okay, I'm going to go after this. That was when he started contemplating that. So we move on to when he goes to Tangier now.
So the boy has brought his ship to town.
Tangier.
We have passed that.
So he has met with the gypsy to try and
Oh.
have
And
a read
see.
her fortune. And I think around after that time is when he meets with
Melchizedek. Yes.
an old man who appears to be wearing a golden breastplate, and it was very kingly features,
Actually,
very
just a
extensive
side
looking
note.
things.
Melchizedek is a very, 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 very important person in the Bible.
Read
Very
Hebrews.
extremely,
Read Hebrews.
extremely important. In fact, there are three characters that in the New Testament that Jesus is compared to: Moses, Melchizedek, and
Elijah? No.
there's
Oh,
another-
yeah.
and the whole old covenant. The whole
Yes,
old
in
covenant.
Hebrew. You're talking about
But
Hebrews,
yes, yes. And then it talks about how Jesus is above this. Jesus is supreme above this. Jesus is,
yeah.
and then it's very interesting that Melchizedek, there is no one who knows where he went after that. Where
He
is
didn't die or
It's
whatever.
very interesting that even exactly
Is he
how
Enoch's
they're
father?
portraying, you know,
Oh,
he's
oh,
way
Enoch's
after
father
that.
was Methuselah.
Methuselah.
Okay, anyway, but I also wanted to say something about like another parallel in the Bible. Melchizedek is the only king who is a priest.
Who is a priest? Yes, that's true.
Did you notice that?
Mm.
Even and in this
King of
one,
Salem.
he also says that like in the Old Testament, which is like a symbolism of Christ,
Very true.
king and priest. Like there was no king that was also the priest in the Old Testament ever. So and even in this story, they talk about him asking for a 10. You know that goes usually to the priests.
And they also talk about
he's the
Abraham.
king of Salem.
Mm.
Yeah, they talked about, I think he's the one who referenced them. But yeah, so I think there is so much symbolism in Melchizedek
Yes.
meeting Melchizedek. But let's talk about his conversation with the boy.
I think
Um,
right off the start, I think the thing that spoke tough for me was that he mentions that he appeared to the boy because he noticed that the boy was about to give up on his dream. He comes out from seeing the gypsy pissed off. He's like, this woman just wasted my time.
Yeah.
Everything she told me I already knew. Like, she just, let me just go back to my routine. And so I think then Melchizedek says there's a lot of potential here. This boy could become so much more and discover so much more about himself if he just took this journey. And that's why he comes and finds this boy reading and tries to make conversation with him. And over to you.
And I think Melchizedek is the first person to bring the word personal legend. He says he's asking about the book.
He's the
reading.
first person to say literally most of the things that keep on recurring through the whole story.
Yes. So he brings the theme of the personal legend, which what do we all agree that personal legend is equivalent to purpose? His
Of
purpose,
course,
the
of
person's
course.
purpose, which means that treasure was not his purpose. It was his
What the
purpose
treasure
was going to
supposed to help him do.
accomplish his personal legend. So anyway, he's talking about the book, and I wanted to read these things. So he asked the boy had borrowed a book which was more complicated and also bigger, and he was kind of like confused. What does a book mean? What does a book mean? The man comes and joins him.
Pages.
He's like, what are you reading? He's looking at that guy. He's like, why are you asking me? Why are you
That
asking
time
me?
he
Like,
just
leave
appeared
me
like some
alone.
old man.
Some old man.
He wasn't
And
focused.
the man, he's like, he thinks that the man won't know how to read, so he hands him the book. He's like, this is what I'm reading, thinking if he doesn't know how to read, he'll just
Leave him alone.
leave him alone. So that's when he says, it's a book that says the same thing. This is what the old man responds, Melchizedek. It's a book that says the same thing almost all other books in the world say. It describes people's inability to choose their own personal legends. I love that. And it ends up saying that everyone believes the world's greatest lie. And the boy asks, what's the world's greatest lie? And then the boy says, the man answers, it's this, that at a certain point in our lives, we lose control of what's happening to us, and our lives become controlled by fate. That's the world's greatest lie.
Wow.
So that's one of the themes in this book, which I feel is free will versus fate. Sometimes we just stay stuck in a rut and we're like, we leave it up to fate. Yes, we have the free will to decide, no, I will go here. I will go here. And the first time we discussed this, we were talking about like us as siblings, and one of our siblings was like, I'm the kind of person who will not, I can find challenge in my routine, and I was like, okay, nothing is wrong.
Wrong with that.
There is nothing wrong with that. The thing is, it is a lie if you think that's all there is. That's what he's saying here. That's the world's greatest lie, that our life is controlled by fate. No, we have free will. We can choose. God gave us. That's one of the things, the first things that's established in Genesis 1, that you have free will. You can choose what I don't want. And truly, human beings, we chose what we didn't want. But God gave us free will for a purpose. And so I thought that was very, 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 very profound, very deep. And the boy continues saying, that is not my problem, because my dad wanted me to be a priest, but I decided not to. It's like, okay, you have really, you know what? In fact, Melchizedek responds and says, well, and says exactly what he was thinking because you like to travel. The guy is like, he knows what I'm thinking. So now his
outlook of this old man now changes.
Yeah, you were going to say something, or
you could actually say that we are fated to choose our own destiny. That is the fate. We are
to choose, but choose is the free will part.
Yes, but that is the part that is cut out in stone. You're supposed to choose whatever, even if you decide to stay in the routine. That is a decision you have made, a conscious decision. It's not fate, it's your decision. You have decided to do that.
Right. Ooh. That was amazing. I thought that conversation was deep. The world's greatest lie. The world's greatest lie
is that it's all up to fate.
Yeah, it's not. It's not. That's the world's greatest lie. And how many times do we believe that lie?
Every day.
Like every single day, I feel like I have to fight it. There's sometimes, and maybe let me bring it in at this point. Let's discuss it. God's will versus fate.
If it is the question
how
of,
do you know? Yeah.
If it is your will versus if it will be, it will be.
Yeah, it will be, and that's where I feel like I think that's where God's will is. Like if it will be, like if I woke up and said I'm just going to go to this job every day and just do that's what, and not decide to be like, okay, let me rebel and instead just quit and move on. And for me, my problem in that is like, what if it's God's will to stay here?
Or what if it's God's will for you to move on?
Yeah. My answer to that, my little small answer, and I don't know if it answers it, but one thing that has comforted me is that God is everywhere. God is in the routine. God is in the fate. God is in the free will. If you allow him, that is. Because you can choose contrary to God even in your free will. But I feel like people who choose to go and pursue their personal legend, quote unquote, will still experience God as if they choose to let him in, as much as those who stay in their routine. I think God is everywhere. God meets us at whatever point we choose. You know what I mean?
Something so profound that actually Melchizedek says was that when you discover a personal legend, then the world works together to get
connives. So the whole universe connives
to make
it come to pass.
So true.
That one to connect it to what you have been saying is that even when you are sure or unsure, how do I put it? But your target, your passion, your target that you have at the end, at the extreme end, God will always use every circumstance around to build towards that. Whether you decide to take left or right, whether you fall short or accomplish, you will always take a step closer, however small it is or however big it is. That is like in this aspect. I don't think this one was set in so much a Christian setting, because there are so many gypsies, Allah, and all of these things. But I feel like the world working together for you to help you to get to your personal legend is God's Spirit helping you to build you, even in your failures, even in your achievements, that it builds that character that prepares you to get to your personal legend. So that, in fact, that is going to be
something that comes recurring. Yeah, it's a recurring theme.
that even the Alchemist in future will mention that at some point. And okay, it's up for debate, but I still think Melchizedek is the Alchemist.
And one thing that stands out for me is that Melchizedek does not connect the dots for him. He just points him.
So does
Points
the
him.
Alchemist.
Points on it.
Yes.
Points him.
Also-
We'll get to the Alchemist later.
Also, I was thinking
He
the fact
challenges him.
that he comes at the time when you're almost giving up. You remember when now I don't want to do a foreshadowing or something like that, but I want to use the thing that was there. He talked about the emeralds, the guy who was collecting emeralds, and it was like he went through, and if he had just gone one more stone, he would have found what the
But he was
most
about to give
expensive, but he was about to give up. Then Melchizedek says that he turned himself into a stone, not the stone, but the stone that he threw, and it hit the emerald, and so it revealed the what. So I will also remind me to to refer it to when he met the Alchemist.
The Alchemist.
Yes, that moment I will explain.
Yeah, but I think the thing that stands out here in the whole conversation of the personal legend and purpose is that, like I was saying, when you commit to finding your purpose and commit yourself to accomplishing it, like I was saying, the book says the universe connives to make sure that it comes to pass, that you become unstoppable.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes is a quote by, I think, Napoleon, who says,
Personal legend.
as I become unnecessary, even an atom will suffice to shatter me. But until then, no weapon on earth can stop me. Nothing on earth can stop me. But at that point, when I'm no longer unnecessary, the smallest thing will be enough.
Right.
But until that time, all the powers on the earth will not be enough to
Right.
stop me. Which means once you get into that zone of you're committed to this, to fulfilling the purpose, something that has meaning, something that goes beyond just doing a routine.
Yeah.
You become unstoppable. We see it throughout the book when, like, the boy throughout his journey discovers all these things that he could do and do very well and become an explosive success. When he meets the person,
The merchant.
and he,
Of the crystals.
within a few months, the man's business is booming just because of this boy being there, committing to the role. Wherever he goes, this merchant even felt sad because he was like, man, this boy is gifted, because this means that if I had done this earlier, I'd be so far.
Yeah.
But just because this boy has come out of nowhere and come up with these ideas, all of a sudden, he's making a lot more money
Right.
than I'm ordinarily making. So, goes to say that whatever you do, there's honor in almost anything
Right.
that has purpose. Whatever you choose to do, there's honor there. It just requires the commitment to it.
Yeah.
So,
So now that you bring up Tangier, I think I've been calling Tarifa Tangier. Tarifa is where he started from. So now that you bring up his time in Tangier, let's go to Tangier. Now he decides, after the conversation with Melchizedek, he sells his ship. He gives
hold on.
Melchizedek a 10.
And also Melchizedek gives him 2 stones. Those are very significant.
Yes,
actually.
that's another parallel in
Urim
the Bible.
and Thummim.
Urim and Thummim, which have always been in that old. If you read that Old Testament, those are stones that were used to hear from the Lord. They would light when one. I don't know how they would light, but they would light to show yes or no, and they were worn by priests
Yes.
and
On their ephod.
on their breastplates. Yes,
Breastplate.
yeah. So he gives him those. He gives the boy also gives him a 10th of his sheep. So and I think that's another significance. You have to give something before you go. Like for you to go on this pursuit, it costs something. It might not be it costs there is a cost, period. There is a cost to pursuing your personal legend, period. So anyway, he sells the ship, he goes on this journey, and this is most interesting. The first thing he gets in Africa, Tangier, Morocco. What happens?
Gets conned.
He gets conned, he gets robbed all his money.
All
He
his
trusted
money.
the first person